Hey there, my name is Dewey Jones. I'm a Colorado off-roader, and what we do here is we film trail guides. We film trail guides with awesome vehicles, and now we normally like to do trail guides mostly, but sometimes you just have to do a walk around of a sweet vehicle. And today we got an awesome vehicle. Many of you guys have seen this one in some trail guides. It is a modified Jeep Renegade, and we're going to be hearing everything about it, so stay tuned.
Hey, I'm Davon Cook. This is my Jeep Renegade Trailhawk. I was not looking for an off-roading vehicle, quite honestly. I was looking for a vehicle I could take to the 14er trailheads to get to some of the 4x4 trailheads and call it good. The Jeep Renegade has skid plates and everything under it, so I figured this would be the perfect vehicle to live kind of in the city, but also be able to escape and go up into some areas where you can't get a lower vehicle. The most notable ones, well, right out of the gate stock was Bilmore Lake, was the first trail I did, followed by T33 Crash. But the more difficult trails would be Middle Saint Vrain up to Coney Flats. It has done that. The Top of the World in Moab. Hell's Revenge in Moab, including Hell's Gate. There's a YouTube video for that. Fins and Things, of course. Poison Spider and Black Bear Pass, Imogene Pass many times. And yeah, I think those are the most notable ones I've got. All right, so right off the bat, you can see I've got different headlights. I had to get a Valkyrie off-road headlight adapter to put 7-inch Wrangler style headlights in there. Avid Essentials steel bumper there. It's the only company as of now that makes a steel bumper for the Renegade. Had to cut some extra holes in there for cooling because it did remove quite a bit of cooling holes that came on the factory bumper. You can mount a winch in there, but I haven't done that yet. I don't know if you can see it. I mounted a front-facing camera here. It goes right up to my head unit inside. I upgraded to a Pioneer or a Kenwood that has CarPlay, but I can push a button and see what this camera's seeing, and that helps out on Moab trails where you're going up and all you see is sky, but the trail turns and you don't know it. So that was essential. Honestly, I just saw it and had to get it. Blue's been kind of my default color for vehicles. I've only had one black vehicle, two black vehicles, but I saw the blue and I thought it was a really unique color, so I had to go for it. So the Trailhawk comes with 17-inch wheels factory. I downsized to 16-inch wheels. These are Method Racing wheels. They've got the bead lock system that comes with their wheels, so I can air down quite a bit and feel pretty comfortable that I'm not going to blow a bead. They're lighter than factory wheels. With the tires that I've got, they're 235 75 16s, which is roughly just below a 30-inch tire, and that's about as max as you can get on a Renegade. You have to do some trimming to get that to fit, but the tire wheel combo is actually lighter than the factory tire wheel combo that comes on the vehicle, so I figured that might help with longevity. One of the very first trails I did was when I was stock was Schofield Pass coming from Crystal Mill. And if you've done it in the past, you're familiar with the rock, and I tacoed a door on the rock. So the first mod I did was the rock rails to prevent that. They're Daystar, and they've got rivets all through on the inside, and they are bolted through the pinch seam on the underside. They're solid. You can use them as lifting points. So this is a snorkel. Believe it or not, I won in a raffle. It is 100% functional. We have it sealed off. The piping goes in there underneath, and they upgraded the piping because I was actually ingesting snow and water. But the new piping that I just bought is kind of like a P-trap on your sinks. It goes down and then up, and then it's got a little drain port that I can unplug and let it all drain out. Super safe, but yeah, I mean, I'd feel comfortable going into water that comes up to at least the bottom of the snorkel mount here before worrying. So Rhino Rack just released this. I'm actually a test bed for them. This is the Rhino Rack backbone system. They just developed the platform for the Renegade, and they let me come in and get it put on for free and drive it around and kind of show it off. But that's brand new to me. I don't have the tent on it because I put that on there for now, and also I don't camp much in the wintertime anyway. But I camp with a rooftop tent made by Roofnest, which is a local Colorado company. I have the Falcon on there because it collapses down to about 7 inches thick once it's closed, and it's got T-slots for gear attachment and things like that, so it's perfect for overlanding. Yeah, it's a small vehicle. I load up the inside pretty well. It doesn't have much cargo space, but it's got good enough for my cooler and my camping gear, and then I put all my bedding and stuff in the rooftop tent so I can close it down with that. And I mean, honestly, it's easy. Once you have its rooftop tent on, you can just jump in and go. So with this vehicle, before I did anything to it and I was running stock height, stock tires and everything, I was getting about 27 miles per gallon highway and probably averaging mixed driving 21 miles per gallon. And if it was strict city, you know, about 19. Now that I've lifted, I've got bigger tires on, I've got the rooftop tent on and everything, I'm honestly probably down to about 20, 21 miles per gallon highway and 17 in city. So
Not that bad.
it's not terrible, but it definitely went down as soon as you start lifting it off the ground and putting bigger tires on. So this is a Gobi ladder. Gobi is one of the only companies that makes a rear-mounted ladder. I wanted the rear-mounted one because I figured I could put my traction boards here and strap them down, and then they'd be out of the wind. There are side-mounted ladders made by Valkyrie Off-Road as well, but I just thought this looked good, and this allows me to actually get in the tent without needing to bring the ladder that the tent came with. So I can just leave that at home now, climb up this and get in there. It's rated for 250 pounds, no drilling required. It's a really simple install. So down underneath, you see the red. Valkyrie Off-Road makes skid plates for the rear differential. There's a center bearing carrier skid plate that's much beefier, and a upgraded front skid plate. I've got all three of them in there because they're made out of really good steel, and I've used them on every trail, especially top of the world. I wouldn't have made it without that because I smashed my rear diff skid really hard. I've also got some high clearance rear control arms made by Valkyrie Off-Road as well. That's my newest upgrade. That should allow me to, skirt right by some bigger boulders if I can't seem to get my wheels on them. And I'm excited to try them out this season. So right off the bat, when I first got it, I noticed that I couldn't fill it up, and I've seen this problem happen in a few other groups. The gas pump would just shut off after half a gallon. Turns out they replaced the whole gas tank, and then after that, I haven't had any issues that I cannot attribute to the abuse I put this thing through. The trails that I've run in this are far beyond what I think they intended the Renegade to go for, like Poison Spider or Hell's Revenge. With the gate, even Top of the World was quite a bit for this. Honestly, I mean, if I hadn't done those hard trails, I probably wouldn't have had the issues that I've had. I did have to replace my rear diff at one point. My PTU did start leaking, so I got that replaced. But and a CV boot, I just redid that. But those are, pretty much expected whenever you raise a vehicle like this. So no, that's it. Honestly, I mean, CV axles, you would expect that for an independent suspension vehicle that you lift. You're going to have to replace them sooner or later. And the rear diff, that's just because I take it out of its limits. So yeah, it's been really solid. This is the first year that the Renegade was made. I've been lucky with this one. I've seen in groups with Jeep Renegade Life or Jeep Renegade Owners of Colorado on Facebook where people get lemons and they're plagued with electrical issues and gremlins that just don't go away. Currently the 2.4 Tiger Shark has a recall for oil consumption. Mine does not lose a drop in between oil changes, and I only change it when the vehicle says oil change required, and it's been solid. So I think I got lucky with this 2015, but I know that there's some out there, with any new platform that a company comes out with, there's going to be vehicles that have gremlins in it. There is a new one that comes in the Trailhawk. I think it's a 1.3 turbocharged, and it's got a touch less horsepower, but it's got more torque. And all off-roaders know that torque is the important when you're off-road. I would go with that. I kind of wish we had it. I think there's tunes available for it already that push the horsepower way above what this currently has. I think I'm at 185 or something horsepower and 175 foot-pounds of torque, and it'll bring it into the 200s on both, which is great for such a small, light vehicle. I wouldn't say trails like me right off the bat, but I would recommend it if you want to get into off-roading and learn. It's an excellent starter vehicle that'll go far further than most people expect it, and far further than you'll expect it, and you'll learn the ropes along the way, and when it's time to upgrade, you'll do that. So it's an independent suspension vehicle that doesn't have a low range. It says low in there, but it just forces a transmission to stay in the first gear. The Trailhawk has a 20-to-1 crawl ratio in first gear. It's better than the other models, but it's not a real low range. So, and there's no lockers. It's all traction control. Granted, it's very advanced traction control, and it'll get you out of things that you'll be surprised about. So, limitations there is no lockers. Torque. You know, it's got nannies in there that prevent you from over torquing the components for longevity. So it'll cut power when it thinks you're about to break something, and that causes issues. The hardest type of terrain for this is big, chunky, loose dirt, like the climb going up to Jaws 1 on Lake Como. Yes, I did try to get it to Lake Como. I got up that climb eventually. I didn't want to try Jaws 1 by myself, so I stopped. The rest of the guys were up at the lake already, so I stayed down with my vehicle.
Lake Como with you. Try it again. I'm dying to do
that
man.
That type of terrain is really hard for it.
No, yeah.
But I mean,
Slaughterhouse showed it a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, there's no flex with it, so lockers in that really flexy section in Slaughterhouse would really help.
Nice.
But I mean, out of the box in snow conditions, it's great. I've enjoyed it.
You know,
Wrangler Shade, Tacoma Shade, Forerunner Shade, anything that's not a known off-road vehicle, FJs, they look at a Renegade and laugh. But when you hit trails with those drivers and you end up at the end of the trail with them without getting assisted, they kind of go, huh, I never expected to see a Renegade make that trail. I did China Wall and the entire trail front and back, including climbing China Wall, and one of the first things the group was impressed with was the fact that I did the trail and then I climbed China Wall, and they all said I never expected to see a Renegade be able to do that. I was with 2 Wranglers and a Forerunner that day, so. This vehicle is an all-wheel drive system until it decides it doesn't need the rear wheels, then it'll kick into front-wheel drive. The 4-wheel drive system is like any modern vehicle. You can select terrain. It's got snow, mud, sand, and rock modes, and then it's got a low button. Like I said earlier, there's no low in the Renegade. It just forces the transmission to stay in first gear. With the Trailhawk, and it's better first gear ratio than the other models of Renegades. So really, the terrain selection just changes the shift points. It keeps the RPMs higher or lower based on what it needs. Rock mode, I would say, is only good for things like solid rock like Moab because it doesn't want any wheel spin. Mud mode is what I use most of because it allows for wheel spin and it gives a 50-50 power distribution. So all of that is controlled electronically in there. And it's like I said, it's a really advanced traction control system. So I've had this Renegade for over 5 years now, and I've reached its limits, I think. And there's places I want to go. I couldn't get it to Wheeler Lake. I did get it to the V-notch, but I couldn't get up the V-notch. And I want to go to Wheeler Lake. So what's next is I'm getting the Ford Bronco Badlands Sasquatch package.
Heck yeah,
Absolutely.
Heck yeah, awesome. I can't wait to see it. It'll be fun.
Yep, I mean, we get the Shade because it's independent front suspension, but it's got the solid rear with the lockers front and center, so we'll see. I think
we've seen on this channel what independent suspension vehicles can do, so
exactly. It's pretty much stock. I just upgraded the head unit to a Kenwood so I could have the front-facing camera in there, and then I've also got a little amp or a little subwoofer that sits underneath the seat here, so this is a pretty much standard Renegade Trailhawk interior.
Yeah.
Ballpark, I would say close to $3,500 of just off-road stuff. That would be the bumper, the upgraded skid plates, the lift, the rock rails, and the snorkel. I told myself I would never get a snorkel on this vehicle because I thought they looked goofy. Well, then I saw my buddy Hydrolock his vehicle on the backside of Baby Lions back in Moab. Water was up to here. He stopped in it, and then he floored it, and the factory intake is right behind this headlight, and he just sucked it right up. So I decided that a snorkel might not be, or raised air intake might not be a bad thing to do for it. So about $3,500 in off-road only equipment.
Guys, that was an incredible walk around. I love this Jeep right here. This Jeep is awesome. It's small. It goes places that you would never expect it to go. I think we will be seeing some more of it on the trails this 2021 season. But thank you guys so much for watching. If you want to see some of this vehicle, or see this vehicle on some trails, clearly I can't talk very well, but if you want to see this vehicle on some trails, click on these trail guides up here. I've put some together that show the Renegade being awesome, and it really is an awesome vehicle. And yeah, I'm rambling. Let's go. Thank you. Have a great day. Bye. I mean, I love my Wrangler, but I absolutely love... Oh wait, there's me. I love his Renegade. I love it, dude. I don't know what I'm doing with this camera, so, but that's awesome. It's